Batwoman Season 3, Episode 2, Loose Tooth. So, in going down the line of Batman Rogues villains, we've now come to Killer Croc. And not only are we, we name dropping Killer Croc, but we also got an Aquaman reference. Because if you notice on The Flash, Cisco had, referenced him going to Atlantis quite a few times. A few Aquaman references were made here and there in other situations, and now they just mentioned it here on Batwoman. So Aquaman is real. And maybe at some point we'll get an Aquaman or an Aqualad or maybe an Aquagirl. So now, regarding Batwoman, in our last episode, Ryan's birth mother, she had got the news from one of her henchmen that Wayne Enterprises was actually trying to decipher some information about her, like they were Googling her or whatever, and she got wind of it. So she wants to go down and actually speak to the CEO of, the CEO of Wayne Enterprises, or acting CEO, if you will. So she jumps in the plane and she's on her way down to Wayne Enterprises. Ryan, meanwhile, she's with Detective Montoya, who has just busted Alice out of prison. They put the ankle bracelet on her because now Ryan and Alice, they're supposed to be working together to try to find all these Batman trophies and these Batman villains, newest villain being Killer Croc. So Ryan, Mary, Luke, they're all in the Batcave. They're sitting here because they heard the report that, this couple was attacked at a pool, by an alligator-like creature resembling the marks of Killer Croc from the past. So, Luke pulls it up on the screen. Waylon Jones, aka Killer Croc, they say what transformed him into that, what made his skin, turn into that. It was basically, they said like it was a disease or some sort of like parasite or some sort of like illness. It was a virus. And it got into his system, which is why his skin turned scaly. It made his jaw bigger, made his eyes pop out, and gave him fangs, this, that, and the third. But they said that the GCPD, like Batman was actually trying to cure him. Batman wasn't trying to kill him. But the GCPD decided that they wanted to kill him. So they threw a whole bunch of liquigen, whatever, in the sewers. They blew him up in the sewers. All that was left of Waylon Jones was a tooth. So now Killer Croc is officially dead. It's officially dead on Earth Prime. But the tooth, being one of the Batman trophies, still carries that same disease in it. So, the tooth had, I guess it scraped against somebody or somebody else touched it. They got punctured by it. And now they have the same stuff running through their veins, which is transforming that person into a Killer Croc. And then while they're talking about that, Alice, Alice just comes out of nowhere and she's like, excuse me. She's like, can anybody tell me why there's a tree in the middle of the Batcave? And I'm not going to lie, I was wondering that too. Like, I've been wondering since the beginning. I'm like, why is there a tree here? Like, even when Kate Kane Batwoman was in the Elseworlds crossover, the Batsuit was inside of a tree. And I'm like, why a tree? But anyway, they all team up and they decide that, they're about to go down into the sewers to go investigate the Killer Croc situation. Just at that moment, Ryan's mom pops up on the roof. Everybody goes upstairs to try to deal with that. So Sophie shows up, and when Sophie shows up, she's trying to help them with the Waylon Jones case. And then when they find out that the helicopter lands on the roof of, of Wayne Enterprises, they were just like, like the CEO, I forgot the name of her damn company. Let's do something tech. He was like, the CEO of this woman's company wants to meet this, the acting CEO of Wayne Tech. And then, she's like, who's the acting CEO? And then, Ryan was like, it's me, because Kate had put Ryan's name on the on the paper. She transferred the power of CEO over to Ryan, just so she can have access to the building and access to the Batcave, et cetera, et cetera. But now she actually has to do the day-to-day operations because she has the title. So everybody flees the scene. Ryan told Luke and Mary to go help Luke out as far as trying to figure out why the Batwing suit keeps conking in and conking out of him, because Ryan's whole thing was, if I gotta take down Killer Croc, I'm gonna need some backup. So then her mom comes downstairs, and Sophie actually told her, she said, listen, if you're about to have this conversation, if you're about to have this meeting, she was like, I feel like I should warn you before you go ahead and have this meeting, that the woman that you're about to have the meeting with is your mom. So immediately, she spazzes and she runs somewhere to change. So she changes into CEO attire. She comes out. Her and her mom have a conversation. Her mom, she doesn't tell her that she doesn't tell her that she knows that she's her mom. So she just thinks like she's just the random acting CEO. So she tells her, she was like, listen, your digital footprints for your company was all over my company, that you were looking me up and you were trying to find information for me. And then she was like, you better stop, otherwise it's gonna be corporate war. And then Ryan was like, look, I don't know what you're talking about, lady. Because Ryan's whole thing was, she just wanted to get a feel from the mom. She just wanted to see who she was as a person. like what her personality was. And when she went through that whole back and forth, that verbal back and forth between, she kind of got a sense of who the lady was. And then at the end, before the mom left, she was just like, she was like, if you're acting CEO, you should take the acting part out of it because your acting sucks when you said you didn't know anything about who was trying to break into my my company's computer. So now Ryan, she's feeling some kind of way because she's just like, yo, this lady, she said that she's fierce, she's strong, she's powerful, she's independent, blah, blah, blah. She's all, but yet for her being all these strong things, for her being all these positive things, for her, being this good representation, she was someone that quit on her own child and gave up her daughter to foster care. So Ryan was trying to struggle with that one, but then at the end she was just like, listen, to hell with her. I got my own life now and I got to move on. So so they end up finding a lead on the Killer Croc thing. And then when she goes downstairs to talk to Alice, Alice was just like, oh, so you had a conversation with mommy. I saw it all on the news, like all on the monitors, the 50 million monitors that you guys have downstairs. And then Ryan tells her to mind a business, and then they get up and then they go down into the sewers. While they're in the sewers, they come across like all the bodies, all the victims that Waylon Jones have picked up, through his travels throughout the Gotham pipeline. They come across these bodies hanging from the ceiling, and when they try to investigate, this guy comes out of nowhere, and then he's just like, oh, what are you doing? And then they're just like, yo, we're investigating Killer Croc. And he's like, you can't do that because Killer Croc's my son, because like he said, he said that, the dad said that his son actually, like he touched the tooth, he got infected, and he's basically trying to like protect his son, and I guess he's like feeding people to him. I don't know what this dad doing, but, Batwoman was just like, listen, we got to bring this fool in, and, because there is a cure, like Luke did say that his dad was working on a cure, so they can find a cure for him. But then the dad ended up attacking Batwoman and Alice because he was just like, listen, I'm not gonna let you hurt my son. He knocked Batwoman down and started like electric shocking her while she was in the water. But I guess that the bat suit, it has rubber insulin, so although she was feeling the shock, it wasn't like killing her internally. Alice dipped, and and when Alice was running away, she broke her ankle monitor off, but as she was running through the sewers, she bumped into another one of Killer Croc's victims, which is like the little girl. The little girl said that her leg was broken and that she needed help, and she was begging for Alice to save her. Alice was going to save her. Alice was this close to actually doing the good thing, being a hero, and saving the girl. But then she started thinking about things in the past, things that she went through, like all the trauma that she had to endure. And then she told the little girl, she was like, lesson number one, ain't nobody here for you. Ain't nobody trying to protect you. You got to fight for yourself. You got to do what you got to do for yourself. It's everybody for themselves. You got to look out for number one. And then Alice dipped and left a poor defenseless one-legged child in the sewers. And I was like, that's some low ass shit. Like I laughed when she ran away, but I was like, yo, that's some dirt low ass shit. And then, and then Alice runs into the parking lot, and then when she runs into the parking lot, that's when she bumps into Luke, who showed up in the Batwing costume. Because earlier, Luke and Mary were, they were in a different section of the Batcave, and they were running tests on Luke because Luke said that there was a failsafe that was in the Batsuit. And the failsafe was designed to shut down if it senses that Luke's life is in danger or if he sustained any injuries. And he's just like, yo, I feel perfectly fine. So then Mary goes and does a test on him. She tells Luke to take his shirt off. Luke takes his shirt off. And now we're getting the Hamill Fox. Now, after all this time, after all this banter, after all this verbal jousting, even with Luke getting shot and Mary, pouring her heart out to him on his hospital bed. Now that he took his shirt off, now all of a sudden she's trying to be the hen in the fox house. So this will be very interesting as we progress forward. And even him, because she took the little stethoscope thing and she was putting it on his chest, and she was touching him, because she had to like feel his heartbeat, and then she was just like, your heart's like beating. She was like, your vitals are like accelerated, and she was like, are you okay? And he was just like, you touching me, woman, wearing that little ass skirt. Like one thing's gonna lead to another, and then they were just like, look, he's fine. There's nothing wrong with the suit. So he jumps in the suit. He goes out there and he starts fighting Alice. Mary's on comms. Sophie's in the background. And I don't know why Sophie's not going out in the field because she's, yes, she's a former Crow, but she still knows what she's doing. She still knows how to fight. I don't understand why she's just not out there like helping the Bat team. But anyway, so Luke shows up. Alice and Luke get into a fight. And then after they get into the fight, Luke injects her with some nanites, and then he's just like, yo, these nanites are designed to link you to every satellite in Gotham so we can track you no matter where you are. So basically, you stuck, bitch. And then that's it. And he brings Alice in. Killer Croc ends up finding the little girl that Alice left for dead. And then, right before Killer Croc, I guess, was about to eat the little girl, then Batwoman shows up. She fights Killer Croc, let the two of them go blow for blow. She uses this net thing that got him up against the wall, and I guess it was strong enough to keep Killer Croc in bay. And then she saved the day, saved the little girl. Unfortunately, Killer Croc killed his own daddy, but then Ryan kind of felt that because she was thinking about her mom and everything. And then even with the little girl, like after she saved the little girl and she saw the little girl with her mom, like she felt some kind of way about that too. And then she just got to a point where like emotionally she just broke down. And then like the radio host voice is back, the lady who's like, oh, Gotham, Batwoman has done it again. And we just want to say thank you to the king. I was just like, who is this one? I just want to see her face like one time. Like that's it. Or have an episode where like a villain snatches her up and then Ryan got to go save her. But then it's like Ryan has to go save her, but we still never see her face. We only hear her voice in a cage in the in the background. That's something that I actually want to see going forward. And then Luke and Mary were talking about the suit again. And, Luke said he had turned off the failsafe. And then Mary said that he should turn it back on. And then when Luke was just like, what's the point? Because there's nothing wrong with me. Mary basically tried to tell him that the suit is probably picking up on his mental or like internal damage, because she said that although the desert rose healed you and healed the scars, healed the physical scars, the suit is probably sensing the emotional scars. And it's the emotional scars because the thing is, because they said that the suit always fails on him when he's in a compromising position, when he's always getting his ass beat, when people are shooting at him or when he's getting stomped out, he probably has emotional flashbacks to when he got shot. The suit is picking up on his anxiety, and that's why the suit is shutting down. I don't know why the suit would shut down when he's in trouble, but that's apparently what we're doing here. And, and then Ryan, she's talking to Sophie again, and then she was just like, seeing that little girl with her mom, like made me want to ask questions. And then Sophie was like, yo, go do the damn thing. She even held her hand too. So I'm like, are we doing the Sophie Ryan thing now? Like, is that more Wilder? Wilder more? Are we getting that? I don't know, but we'll see. And then finally, Ryan ends up going to her mom's, company. She busts in, and then she's just like, oh, I told you to stay out of my business. And then Ryan was like, well, this isn't business, this is personal. And then she was like, what's personal about it? And she was like, what makes it personal is that I'm your daughter. So that was it. That's how the episode ended. I saw in the coming attractions for next week that she introduces Ryan to her son, and I'm like, that's fucked up. Because you gave up one. See, now because she actually has a son and she chose to keep her son and she chose to give up Ryan, that says to me that she was married to somebody else and she cheated on her husband with Ryan's dad, and Ryan was the bastard child and she was the shame, which is why she wanted to get rid of her. And then she ended up having her son with her actual husband, which is why he's still in the mix. But I was like, but that's jacked up. I forget who. I think we're doing Poison Ivy in the next episode. I think Poison Ivy is going to be the next Batman villain, because then Renee Montoya, in the end, they had the vial of the Poison Ivy plant, and then she poured water in it and nothing happened because she was like, yo, that's not the real plant. And whoever does have the real plant, we're in trouble because shit is fucked. So like I said, we're going to get the Poison Ivy thing. I don't know if it's going to be the actual Poison Ivy, because like I said, and people have to remember this. If anybody out there to quote a phrase from Justin King in YouTube land, if anybody out there has a problem with these people not being the actual Batman rogues villains, not being the actual people, one thing you have to remember, and they keep telling us this over and over and over again, the Batman villains that we know and we love and that we're familiar with, all that happened 20 years ago. Killer Croc is dead. The Mad Hatter's like 60. So, I mean, Poison Ivy might still be around, but that's a rare. I mean, out of all the Batman villains, I'm pretty sure one of them is like one or two of them still around, but we are going to get new people for the most part, because again, it was 20 years ago. Batman's in his 40s right now. So we'll see what happens. And like I said, thank you for tuning in. So leave your questions and comments down below. Let me know what you think of episode 2 of Batwoman. I'm very interested so far. I'm interested in the Mary Luke, situation. Even Ryan and Sophie, I'm like, well, won't they? I'm kind of, I can kind of see where that's going as well. And I'm definitely interested in the Batman villains and the dynamic of seeing Ryan and Alice work together, because that's always entertaining and fun as well. So check me out on Twitter, check me out on Instagram, and again, leave your comments on YouTube. Hit the notification bell, because we're going over Legends of Tomorrow, we're going over Supergirl, we're going over Stargirl, we're going over Doom Patrol, and we're going over that Titans, baby. So thanks for tuning in as always. So until next time, for some more Batman Rogues action, take care, and I'm out this bitch.